This is my account. Kindly, yes, thank you. Hi, Nazire. How are you?
Hi, welcome, Ramesh.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you. Uh,
Değerli katılımcılarımız, konuşmasını yapmak üzere doçent doktor Ramesh Sharma'yı arz edelim.
Ramesh, you can start the presentation now.
okay. Okay, friends, good afternoon. And first of all, I would like to thank you very much for inviting me. It is always a pleasure to interact with all of you. Yes. So today we will see that how the pedagogy and online course design, they are being changed in terms of innovative applications of technology. If you see the world economy, then it is, you can see that this is a top countries by the gross domestic product, GDP. And means if I talk about my own country, India aspires to become a $5 trillion economy by the year 2004, means just after 2-3 years. And we believe that this is possible if we embrace and build the learning power to flourish and thrive in the knowledge and innovative economy. In 1970, everybody knows about Alvin Toffler. In his famous book, Future Shock, he had pointed out to the challenges that arise out of too much change in too short a period of time. Now, in the age of computers and internet and the realization of Moore's law led to what we now call as the VUCA world. Now, VUCA world stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. Because things are volatile, you see people, they don't have patience. There is high uncertainty what will happen. Even for corona pandemic, we do not know what will happen. Schools, colleges will be open or not. What will happen? Uncertainty. Things are quite complex, as the people put on their social media status, like the relationship, it is, they are in a complex relationship, something like that, and ambiguous. So Alvin Toffler, means he has been one of the world's most famous futurists, who is credited as the source of the expression information overload. So he was quite far from alone in seeing the economy shift from manufacturing and mass product to a computerized and information-based model. So Future Shock, the book he wrote, a term he first used in 1965 magazine article, was that how he was defining the growing feeling of anxiety brought on by the sense that life was changing as a ever accelerating pace. And his most famous observation has been what you see on the screen. The illiterate of 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. This brings us to the concept of learning power. Now, the traditional mode of learning was to equip the learner for a well-defined series of skills and abilities, which led to the importance of definable learning outcomes and adoption of the ISO model by several educational institutions. And this must change in the present scenario, where learners have to be ready for a future that will bring with it new challenges and therefore new opportunities if the individual is ready for that. And the learning power here, which can be considered as a collection of psychological traits and skills that other scientists like Heisenberg, Schrödinger, Niels Bohr, Max Planck, Paul Dirac, Wolfgang Pauli, and others, they were laying the foundation of quantum mechanics as the theory to describe the world. So here, the point is that we need to reflect on how education has fundamentally transformed just over few years, and particularly like in pandemic, new things. And the question regarding the teaching, they are the same, but the answers have changed. And many of you will agree that over the past year, the questions remain the same, like who teaches, where do we teach, how do the learners access learning, how do we support learners, means fostering them, how do we assess learners, what learning resources do we deploy, how do we manage their credentials. No, the questions remains the same, but the answers have changed. Like from being banned in the educational institutions, the mobile phones, your mobile phone, now they have become the key learning device. And in the fourth industrial revolution, which was popularized by Professor Klaus Schwab, the CEO of World Economic Forum in 2016, and there in January this year, 2021, the World Economic Forum estimated that 1 billion people have to be re-skilled by the year 2030. And similarly, in his book of Fourth Educational Revolution, Sir Anthony Sheldon, he predicted that the AI recommendations and personalization engines and the learning softwares like AlphaGo Zero and self-driving cars, they are creating a very, very big impact on our lives. Now, from Turkey, I want to take you to South America. Here you see in the map, and there in the middle we have a country. It is called as Honduras. In the Honduras, this is, you see, such a what a beautiful place it is, a nice country. There, what happened that this country is very famous for, means the region is very famous for storms and hurricanes. So the government decided that the river gets flooded and the people, they face difficulty. So they try to make a bridge there. The bridge was, the contract was given to a Japanese company, and the bridge was completed in 1998. And incidentally, in the same year, by the powerful forces of nature, the Honduras, it was hit by a hurricane Mitch, and it caused a very high degree of damage to the nation, to the infrastructure, and quite a big loss it was. So what happened, as you can see in there, many bridges, they were destroyed, but this bridge, it still stands there in nearly perfect condition. However, road on either end of the bridge, it was completely vanished. And if you see that this bridge was built on the river, so initially the river was flowing below the bridge, but the river, it changed the course, and there is no sign of any road. You can see from this image taken from the space from there. And so this is the popularly, this bridge is now famously called as the bridge to nowhere. Means it doesn't lead anywhere, like that. But here the important thing is that what we do, the lesson for it is that most often we focus on creating the best solution of a given problem, and we forget that the problem itself might change. We focus on building the most sophisticated product or service without thinking that the requirements could evolve or the market could vanish. And this lesson could not be more relevant to the current situation, where instead of building to last, which has a popular corporate mantra, like if you are making a car, it should be, there has to be some age, 20 years, 30 years, it will last. You construct a building, it should stand for 100 years, like that. So built to last here. But now it looks like that kind lead to the bridge to nowhere. We need to shift to build to adapt. That seems to be the way to go to the future. Means build to adapt. We need to adapt to the changing situation. Now, this is you may be knowing about this saber-tooth. This this animal, means the saber-tooth cat, is any member of the various extinct groups of predatory mammals, which are characterized by the long curved saber-shaped canine teeth, which protruded from the mouth when closed. And these cats, they have been found almost worldwide, from the Eocene epoch to the end of the Pleistocene epoch, means around 42 million years ago, up to 11,000 years ago. That is the duration it is considered for that. So taking a cue from here, under the pseudonym J. Abner Paddywalle, the saber-tooth curriculum is considered as a classical work which illustrates how unexamined traditions of schooling can result in resisting needed changes. This book presents a series of lectures by Professor Paddywalle on the topic of Stone Age education. And this saber-tooth curriculum, it holds that education started with fish grabbing, horse clubbing, or tiger scaring long before we shifted to reading, writing, and arithmetic. And after these original three subjects were established, it became difficult to change the curriculum. And the saber-tooth curriculum generally means enjoying the traditional ways and old systems of education. It embodies people's resistance to change and hesitancy to embrace innovation, even if it is only way of survival and what the age calls for. Now, let me tell you an interesting story. This story was written by one of our, Nobel laureates from India, Rabindranath Tagore. I think two of my colleagues from India, they are in this session, Riti Moni and Prasenjit. They can give you additional information about Rabindranath Tagore. He is the person who gave us our national anthem, and he was awarded with the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1913. He has written this story, which is very famous, called as the Parrot's Tale. Now, what this story tells, and it has a very interesting meaning with our educational system. That there was this parrot, and parrot was good for nothing. Every day means all the time eating fruits and like that. and king was quite unhappy. That means the parrot was with the king, and king was quite unhappy, and he said that this bird is good for nothing, always making noises, and doesn't know how to read the scriptures, the holy books, doesn't know how to talk to the people in a polite manner, eating all the time. So educate the bird. Now the ministers, they hold a meeting and gave the task to the nephew of the king. Nepotism, it goes like that, so that the king will be happy that we gave the work to his known person. Now they decided, and what was called that the cage of the bird is not good, let us make a better cage for the bird. So the people, the goldsmiths, etc., they were called in, and a very attractive cage was made. So the people, they started visiting, and they said that, oh, there is nothing on education, but the poor bird, it has got a beautiful golden cage. So at least the bird is now at a much better situation. And after some time, still there was no improvement, and the complaint went to the king that there is no improvement and the bird is not learning. So king decided that, okay, let me come. And then the ministers, they made all the arrangements with these drums, etc., big party, and like that, to please the king. The king came there, and was happily started, oh, okay, everything is going well, and started to go back. But then there are, when there are some people, then there are certain criticizers also, those who were not happy with the other group. They complained to the king that, did you see the parrot? He said, oh yes, I need to see the parrot. So the king went and saw that, oh yes, wonderful thing, the bird is in a golden cage and everything is there. There are a lot of books around bird, so it means the learning is happening. And he was very happy, gave the prizes to the ministers, and went again. Now what happened, everyone was focusing on infrastructure. More books were written so that the bird could be educated, better cage was being prepared, etc. But nobody paid attention to the bird. And after some time, the bird became very weak and could not like that. So ultimately, the bird died. When the bird died, the message went to the king that kindly come and see. So the king came and wanted to see the things. So he poked the bird, and now the bird, no reaction. Only the books, they were flapping, which were surrounded by them. And the king asked the questions with the ministers that, is the bird making noise? No, sir. Is the bird eating every time? No, sir, like that. Yes, very good. Now it looks like the education has been complete. This is a very interesting satire on the educational system, where instead of paying focus to the learner, we are more concerned about making big buildings, providing them all the facilities, but not focusing on the learning itself. And this brings to the what is a modern changes there. The children who are studying school today will be adults ready for further education or to face the world in the years to come. And now, as we are in the third decade of 21st century, this is very a different world from the one experienced by their grandparents, parents, or even their teachers. Now, the future of the students is being shaped by two important major forces. The fourth industrial age, which is driven by artificial intelligence, machine learning. I think in the morning session, Professor Kismet gave a wonderful presentation. About artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, and the another one is the fourth education revolution, which is disrupting the traditional education model, which are propelled by the same kind of technologies. Now, you must have heard about this ignorantia juris non excusat. This legal maxim, or the ignorance of law is no excuse. It implies that the court presumes that we all are aware of the law, and one cannot claim ignorance of the law just to escape the liability. And to flourish and thrive and not merely survive in the emerging knowledge, creativity, and innovation and economy, which is labeled as the fourth industrial age, ignorance itself is no excuse. Now, if you see the Darwin's theory of evolution, uh, sorry, the Darwin theory of evolution and the uh, the which states that it is not the strongest of the species or the most intelligent that survives, but the one who's responsive to change. And today it is the right knowledge that helps one to appropriately respond to the change. One must know not only how to learn fast, but also know what to learn. And in this third decade of the 21st century, this is the era of the rapid acceleration and convergence in the fields such as artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and quantum biology, etc. From there. Now, this brings us to quite the, let us see, limitations of the present education system. Now, this is quite interesting. I took it from, I think, LinkedIn, where Dr. Mansoor Aga Siddiqui, he says that whether a class will be interesting, engaging, and beneficial to students depends on the teacher and not on whether it is offline class or an online class. Because a good teacher can make an offline class or an online class equally interesting, whereas a bad teacher can make either it is online or offline equally uninteresting, disconnected, or a waste of time for the students. And then he cites his example that I owe my career to two bad teachers who got rejected and thrown out of the classroom because teachers could not understand anything and found their classes a waste of time. So this is quite interesting. Um, like this is another example. This railing on the gazebo in Naples, it has braille describing the view for the visually challenged people. You know, by having by touching the railing, they can see that what is the view it is describing. No, this is a marvelous idea. And the question here is that what might be the instructional design equivalent of such resource? How can we use these things in education? Because if we see to that, there is always someone who can do it cheaper. This is a good, and while here, this is another thing which Dirk Diggler says that it baffles me that we have all the information available online to learn anything for free. But if you still have to pay $30,000 per year just to hear some professor explain everything so poorly that you end up learning it all from the internet anyways. Yeah, and that is quite interesting. Keanu Reeves, maybe eagerly waiting for the Matrix 4, the movie. And I remember that just 2-3 years ago in MIT labs, they created a Hogwarts hat, the Harry Potter movie kind of thing, in which if you wear the hat, it increases your cognitive powers to understand and to information processes. Now, here what happens that with the help of these sensors, this information is absorbed, processed, and passed on to different sensory lobes at the back of the brain, which is then processed to the expressive center in the frontal lobes and organized in neural pathways. Now, because every one of has a unique genetic coding that influences the genetic predisposition towards the lobes. So therefore, these senses, they will dominate that when this information is processed. This brings us to these technologies in education. Now, the role of technology has been to do lower level tasks that are necessary for the functioning of educational institutions or enabling the scaling of its services. Like, for example,
Hello,
record
sir.
keeping.
Sorry for interrupting, but our time is limited. So if we'll finish in 5 minutes, it will be perfect.
Yes. Yeah, I'm nearly end of my presentation.
Thank you very much.
Most welcome. So here means like the technologies, AR, VR, mixed reality, holographic technology, etc. They will make the learning completely different from anything the world has experienced so far. Now, how it will transform this is the famous quotation by George Couros. He said that technology will never replace great teachers, but technology in the hand of great teachers can be very transformational. And he has suggested that what is best for the learner, like innovative practice, best practice, and reflect, revise, and remix, making the students to learn that what does this learner need and how this need can be met and what can we do differently from there. Now, how AI will transform education, there are new developments happening. Already this is a app, you can try it. It is called as Robot Lawyer. The Do Not Pay app. This the name of the app is Do Not Pay, and it is already being used in many countries, where the app suggests you that what a lawyer will give you the suggestion. And similarly, GPT-3, GPT-4, they are emerging now. So finally, ultimately, what it is leading us to, the science of learning. The future of learning will be based on an understanding of science of learning, because the earliest sciences could be perhaps, say for example, astronomy, and in due course the other fields of human inquiry, they evolved maybe around 100 years ago. And the Lewis described magician as the youngest science, and now we have data science receiving a lot of attention, neuroscience, data science, the building block of learning science. And in this way means how we can make changes in our educational systems, educational delivery, make the students more self-reliant and self-learning. That will be the way to go with. So thank you so much. With this, I finish my presentation. And I just want to suggest these two resources for every one of us to consult. One is the Horizon report, and it gives wonderful information. And the second one is this innovative pedagogy, which is by UK Open University. This document is being prepared by them for past quite, it's annual report sort of, where they try to identify the innovative pedagogies for that. So thank you so much. Okay, if there are some questions, then we can take. over to you.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me? And this is Prasenjit.
Can you hear us?
Yes, now I can hear. I think my mic got muted.
Thank you for your valuable contribution. I think the audience doesn't have any questions. Thank you very much again. Hopefully we can meet in other conferences.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you so much and have a nice evening. Rest of the program.
You're welcome, sir. Sorry for the technical problem.
Oh, it's okay. No problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Bye. Yeah.
Bye.
Good evening. Bye.